This may seem like an odd comment, but I think that he's very, very smart. He clearly did very well at Yale. He is clearly capable of thinking about big ideas. But, you know, Ronald Reagan was probably equally smart, but he also understood that he had to communicate so that everyday folks understood it. One of Trump's great advantages is he talks at a level where third, fourth, and fifth grade educations can say, oh, yeah, I get that. I understand it. And in fact, Trump has now made the Republican Party the party of working Americans in a way that probably hasn't been true for almost 100 years.
Oh, is that it? Donald Trump is a third grader's vocabulary so that he can communicate with everyday folks? Are those folks in elementary school? I mean, my God, if these people had even a shred of self-awareness, they might actually be embarrassed at the verbal gymnastics that they're forced to endure in their groveling desperation to the guy. They might recognize that they're defending someone for sounding like a third grader by pretending that that means he's some working-class whisperer. In a way, they're actually betraying their own contempt for those same working-class Americans by equating them with school children. Just because you work a blue-collar job does not mean that you're equivalent to an 8-year-old. But between Republicans' contempt for those people and the overall extent to which they are out of touch with everyday Americans, this is what you're left with, and it really does speak volumes. And by the way, it's not just Newt Gingrich's accidental admission that betrays the GOP's disdain for the working class, it is the entire party's agenda. Remember, Trump took office on the pretense of populist appeal. He promised jobs, he promised infrastructure, he promised manufacturing, he promised lower costs, and you know what he delivered? A tax cut for billionaires. He doubled the estate tax exemption, the amount of money that you can leave your kids tax-free, from $5 million to $11.7 million. Want to tell me how many blue-collar workers are taking advantage of that one? The vast majority of Americans can't afford a $400 emergency expense, but hey, at least populist champion Donald Trump doubled the estate tax exemption. Talk about a hero for the working class. Republicans won't vote for the PRO Act, which helps workers join unions, because they are solely interested in helping CEOs. They won't vote for an increase to the minimum wage, which has been $7.25 for almost 15 years, since 2009, because they are solely interested in helping CEOs. So while they may parade themselves around in plaid shirts, they are putting on an act. Don't listen to what they say, watch what they do. And what they're doing is everything they can to dilute worker power and strengthen the power of the ultra-wealthy executives who abuse them. I mean, come on, guys. Does this look like the guy who's interested in helping minimum wage workers? Does this look like the guy who's making sure that you're getting paid for overtime? Sometimes it's as simple as using common sense. The guy who lives in a gold-plated tower probably didn't get there thanks to his firm commitment to the working class. In fact, it's not only that Republicans are pandering to the ultra-wealthy, they are opting to run billionaires as candidates. Here's Senator Tammy Baldwin during a recent interview explaining why.
I have probably a list of about a dozen people that I've been reading about in the last few weeks, either people speculating that they might run, or they're offering their own names up and saying, we're seriously looking at the race. And they run the gamut between sitting members of Congress in this state to former party leaders to business leaders. You know, there's a thing out there about how the Republican Party in the swing states, the battleground states that are up next year, are trying to recruit multimillionaires, even billionaires, so that they can self-finance, and the Republican Party can put their money elsewhere to make more and more races competitive.
Yeah.
You know, it's a sad state of affairs where you're just looking at billionaires and multimillionaires as your prospective candidates.
So Republicans are filling their ranks with billionaires, all the while expecting you to believe that those people are going to be champions for the working class. Got it. The simple fact is that by now, Republican branding is just that. Branding. In reality, they don't stand for any of the things that they spent years claiming to be. They said they stood for family values, only to line up behind the guy who just days ago was found liable for abuse against E. Jean Carroll. The guy who was out paying porn stars for affairs while his wife was at home pregnant. They said they stood for fiscal responsibility, only to add $7.8 trillion to the debt so they can give themselves and their rich donors tax cuts. They said they stood for states' rights, only to then line up like lemmings behind the Texas lawsuit seeking to nullify the election results in 4 other states during the 2020 election because they weren't happy with the results. They said they stood for the police, only to refuse to vote for the American Rescue Plan, which actually funded those police departments when the rest of the economy was shut down. They said they stood for the military, only to vote against the PACT Act when it first came up for a vote because they wanted to punish Democrats for supporting the Inflation Reduction Act. So again, there is a pretty damn big difference between Republican branding and their reality. reality. I spoke with Lucas Kunce, who's running for the U.S. Senate in Missouri against Josh Hawley, about expressly this issue, how Republicans have abandoned the working class in deference to their corporate donors, and this is what he had to say. Lucas, you co-wrote an op-ed for the Daily Beast. I want to read an excerpt from what you wrote. Real family values are about providing a healthy alternative to the toxic masculinity that Hawley is offering. The disconnect between men and the economy or society isn't happening because men are failing to achieve some weird idea of what it means to be a man. The core of this crisis is the fact that men without a college degree have seen their relative earnings fall by 30% since 1980. Why? Because Josh Hawley and others like him have blocked advancements for working class Americans at every turn. Can you speak a little bit about what you meant by that?
Yeah, absolutely. And so I've seen it in the neighborhood that I grew up in. And so I grew up in a working class neighborhood in, a small, medium-sized town in Missouri called Jeff City. And, none of us had any money. Like my parents got married early, 19 and 22. It was a very similar story to everybody in that neighborhood. Mine in particular were Catholic. And so they had 4 kids, bang, 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 right? They were doing the right thing by the church. And we were all living paycheck to paycheck. And the thing was, though, we could all take care of each other. And so when my littlest sister was born, and she had to have an open heart surgery, she actually had a couple, and our family went bankrupt from that. We made it because there was enough slack in that community. There was enough resources in that community that everyone at their churches passed the plate for us. People brought tuna casserole by the house, right? Like everybody was able to take care of each other. And we've seen about 40 years of disinvestment from neighborhoods like that. Disinvestment in our public schools, taking away our opportunities, just really stripping our communities for parts like the one I grew up in, to the point that we don't have the ability to take care of each other anymore. And people like Josh Hawley are the exact problem. They're the people who disinvested from communities like that all across our state and all across our country. So now you go to that neighborhood, a place where we all as kids used to run in and out of each other's houses. Everybody could take care of each other, and it just looks desolate. The first house I ever lived in is an empty lot. The one I joined the Marine Corps out of's got no windows in it anymore. The corner store was boarded up because it's been robbed so many times that it couldn't get insurance. And so, and what's gone in there now? A smoke shop, of course, because that's what goes into neighborhoods like that. And so what I see the need is, like, he talks about, oh, there's a crisis of masculinity. No, there's a crisis of leadership. And the leadership we have here is leaders who make decisions based on the corporations that are funding their campaigns, rather than for the communities that make our state and our country strong. And so what we're saying, what Jake Auchincloss and I, Representative Auchincloss and I, are saying is, we need to invest in communities. We need to invest in unions. We need to invest in apprenticeship programs. We need to invest in paths for people to have opportunity so that they can take care of themselves, and everything will work out a lot better.
And you can watch the full interview when it's released on my YouTube channel this weekend, so make sure to subscribe. But Kunce's point is clear. Republicans are so beholden to their corporate donors that they're not interested in lifting a finger for the working class. Which is why, by the way, they are so focused on culture wars. They know that if they don't distract the masses with highly emotional issues like immigrants coming to erase your heritage or trans people coming to convert your kids, that they might actually have to focus on their agenda, and that would be devastating. So if you're wondering why every day among Republicans is like if the Facebook comments section on a Dan Bongino video was sentient, now you know why. The culture wars are the only thing distracting you from their real agenda. So if you're considering voting for Republicans, just know that that is not a party that has any respect for you. To them, you are nothing but marks. These are elites parading themselves around as populists while making themselves even more rich at your expense. And every once in a while, they let you know how they actually feel, like suggesting that working class voters are akin to third graders. When they show you who they are, believe them. Before you go, I need some help. Please subscribe to this channel and do your part to help grow the progressive media ecosystem. I don't do sponsorships or paid ads, I won't ask for money, but just subscribing to this channel goes a really long way, and it helps get the message out to more people. The subscribe button is right here on the screen. You can also subscribe to my Spanish language channel, which I made to reach those crucial Spanish-speaking voters. That link is on the screen too. And finally, if you want to listen to my audio podcast, you can follow that link as well. Thanks so much for watching.